Well, hello there, Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon here alongside our meteorologist Gabe Maynor. We'll talk to him here in the Room Weather Center here in just a moment as we're looking at potential for some active weather over the course of the next 12 to 24 hours. And Gabe, again, the thinking is most of these storms will be below severe limits. Of course, you'll be analyzing some of those threats coming up here in just a moment from our Room Weather Center. Welcome you in here to Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. And as we look ahead over the course of the next couple of hours, some of the things we're continuing to track, of course, some strong storms, but I expect most will probably not be severe. And Gabe and I'll get back and forth on a discussion on that come up here in just a couple minutes. Drier for football weather by Friday. Also a bit cooler and some cloud cover lingering in with that as well. More fall-like air is definitely pushing in. Of course, technically it is fall, so we should be sort of to a certain extent expecting that transition toward that more fall-like weather. Here are our storm threats, though, over the course of the next few hours here. As you can see, expecting the tornado risk, not a significant risk as far as that's concerned. We switched those two icons, Gabe. We did not switch the bar graphs around. That's okay. Very, very limited tornado risk as far as this is concerned. If we're going to see something, it would be wind related. And again, we'll look at that in more detail here in a moment. If you'll hit analysis mode over there, Gabe, for me. We'll click that over, and I'm going to head over there to our wall so we can track where there are some showers and thunderstorms out there at this point here. Luckily, most of the significant, more active weather is down in central and south Mississippi. And as far as severe weather goes, we have had no reports as far as that is concerned for today. So as we're looking more detail at that again, down toward Jackson, where there's more moderate rainfall, Ridgeland back toward around Florida. As we put this into motion here on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, this conglomeration of showers and thunderstorms here from the Pickens community back toward Ridgeland is kind of our main focal point, but that'll be kind of moving up here toward Kosciuszko and Louisville and Macon, the far northern portion of the state. Probably not going to see a ton of active weather as far as the next few hours are concerned. And even this, as we bring it back here to the latest scans here on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, this is well below severe limits for Goodman back toward around the Pickens area, moving toward Kosciuszko. Let's get you a storm track on this. Speed on this, we're going about 30 miles per hour. That's still we're going on this, Gabe?
Yeah, 30 to 40 miles an hour, somewhere in that time frame, so you could up it a little bit.
Okay, so let's go 35. 36, sound good. And we will extend that ahead now about 70-mile track. We do expect these showers and thunderstorms. Okay, let's go 100 to continue holding together as they work their way toward the Mississippi-Alabama state line. I'm going to adjust that track maybe slightly farther south. Okay, so with that in mind, as you can see here in the near term, we're looking at this getting closer to around the Aberdeen Junction area at 606, getting closer to Camden by about 612, Durant at 612 or so. Again, this is moderate rainfall for Bolatusha for you at about 619. And toward the west community, about 624. As we kind of change the size of the cities we're looking at there, you'll notice how we continue to move this toward Kosciuszko, 633, Ethel, 648, French Camp, about 702, Ackerman, 725, Louisville, 725, Brooksville, about 813, and Macon close to around 817, crossing over into Alabama by Pickensville, about 843 there, and Artesia at 818. What are these storms capable of? Of course, that's always the question we look at. In order to look at that, first thing we'll check, hail. Nothing. Okay, let's check shear, which allows us to look at damaging winds. Nothing as far as rotation threat is concerned. So at this point here, the heavy rainfall potential remains probably the biggest concern out of this. We look at the rainfall rate or the rainfall amounts over the last 6 hours, and even that is not anywhere near what it was last night. I want to give you a comparison where we did have some flood issues overnight last night, and I'll change this back over to our radar site out of Monroe County here. And again, this is looking at about the last, 6 hours or so, but you take this back the last 24 hours, and obviously a massively different situation with the heavy, in some cases, spotty flooding rainfall that we had up here in Marshall, Benton, and Tippah counties. So bringing it back the last 6 hours, not the case. And that's largely the story then here across the northern part of the state, as we just don't have a lot of significant precipitation. I think that's one of the things at least lending me to believe that the severe weather threats remain extremely limited on what we see this evening. I mean, really honest, this is just moderate rainfall there for Grenada. As we come back down here, we'll check our camera in Kosciuszko with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers there. Again, we appreciate the North Mississippi Storm Chasers for allowing us to utilize their camera network here. If you'd like to donate to support them, certainly nmscas.org, a way in which you can do that. They're a 501c3 nonprofit, and certainly they would appreciate it. Dark clouds on the horizon, what is approaching, but again, that is a non-severe thunderstorm. As you can see kind of on the corner of the screen down there, still a ways away from Kosciuszko at this time. on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, bringing it back to the precipitation mode. Again, just lighter rainfall up here, Grenada toward Coffeyville. And when we look at the severe weather threat the remainder of this evening, it's not one that we're particularly impressed with. Again, when we show this green area, that means a limited number of reports. Might only have 1 or 2 reports of severe weather over a large area. So luckily the indications are that most storms will remain below severe limits going into and through this evening. As far as any of those concerns, we're thinking damaging wind gusts if we were to see anything, and hopefully that is not the case. So most indications, Gabe, looking like things are better than they necessarily could be in this sort of situation here. But of course, you're looking ahead at the hour-by-hour forecast and how things play out from here. Certainly it looks like the potential for things to get more active as far as rainfall is concerned still there in the forecast.
Yeah, I mean, a dreary forecast, but luckily not a severe forecast for a lot of locations. So we will continue to enjoy that over the first 12, 40% coverage around 7, 40% by 10, and we're seeing 30% there during those overnight hours. So that's a best case scenario towards tomorrow morning, still around 20%. But as we look at Futurecast right here, you can see that massive showers and thunderstorms moving across Monroe County, Columbus, and Crawford. The thing is to note, the storms you're watching right now, they're towards Attala and Holmes County. They're trending more in that east-northeast fashion. There's that batch there towards Starkville and Lowndes County that could contain a few rumbles of thunder. But that's really the extent of our strong weather potential. I'm not even going to say severe weather potential as of this point because the atmosphere just not exactly primed for it. So towards your Thursday morning, a lot of that moisture does clear out, this front taking a lot of that with it, but some of that wraparound moisture that happens there towards your Thursday morning, that's where we could get a few of those light to moderate showers. But again, those remaining below severe limits. So our severe weather potential just continues to diminish as each minute passes, and we're not exactly looking at that as a prime threat going forward. 10% chances for your morning commute, getting to 20% there by lunchtime. Some areas, or should I say sometime during the afternoon, will be around 30% coverage. Could be around 4, 5, and 6 o'clock before those chances diminish into our Thursday night as well as our Friday morning. The thing about our Friday, high school football back in action, and that's one of the things we'll be tracking coming up in the next 60. We're also talking college football forecast. I'm going to give a little sneak preview. It's a fantastic football forecast at that. So make sure to keep it here with Mississippi Live Weather for the very latest, and we will track more details on your forecast and that severe weather potential here in the next minute.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
As a nurse, I've seen a lot of people with sleep deprivation. It affects their job, their home life. At Room to Room, we want to take the guesswork out of buying a mattress, and that's why we brought in this technology. It shows you what you need. We want to do the assessment and find exactly what's perfect for you.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
One of the reasons I've been a longtime patient at Tupelo Smiles is they're very sensitive of my time. When I come into the office, I'm always ushered right in the back and they start serving my needs that day. They always take care of the patient.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lovhawn.
Hey there, Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon, looking at what are going to be drier conditions on the way for your Thursday. We're watching a disturbance down in the Gulf of Mexico could bring up limited amounts of moisture, but as we track your forecast here in the Room to Room Weather Center, the fact that we are only low 80s by afternoon tomorrow, a sign, of course, of the transition behind this cold front that is moving into and through the area. And we anticipate, again, going forward that there will be, again, more limited rain chances. We just so badly need the rainfall, certainly making an impact, though, here as far as that is concerned. As you note here, looking at Futurecast, we do have some showers and thunderstorms out there. And we'll get back to Mississippi Live Weather Radar in a minute. This is easily overdone. And we talked about this a little bit last night, how just models, the first couple times we have these sort of severe weather events try to kick out in projections, they overdo it almost every single year. That's the case with the organized storms that we have out there this evening. And the heaviest of those, one thing it does a pretty good job of showing that they're somewhere between Grenada and Madison and Jackson down there. Again, I think it's a little too far north, so where you see this from Grenada to Greenwood, really I'd place that closer to Kosciuszko to Canton. So again, displaced a little too far north here on the HRRR model projection. As you'll notice, some of those showers, again, moving there closer to Columbus and Amory. And again, I think that's probably south there, probably Columbus down south, really encompassing locations, Pickens County, maybe Tuscaloosa back toward Jasper as we go into and through the evening. Could there be one report of wind damage? Yes. Some power disruptions from lightning? Absolutely. Tornadoes? Not going to happen out of this. There's just not the kind of atmospheric overall shear and setup for that to be the case. But what is going to happen, and you can probably kind of notice it sort of sweeping into the area, this front, and that's bringing in drier and slightly cooler air. Something a lot of folks probably going to be looking forward to going forward here over the next few days, feeling a little more fall-like at a time where everyone's ready for it to feel more fall-like. So 68 in Grenada, the low temperature tomorrow morning, in Eupora coming about 68, 69 Tupelo and Amory. Could we have a couple overnight thunderstorms? Kick out some wind gusts, yes, but I think really the next 4 hours is the most likely time period for us to see that ahead of this front. And then behind the front, we still have some isolated showers developing here. You can see 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. Our meteorologist Maggie McCauley probably tracking a few of those here from the Room to Room Weather Center as we go throughout your morning. So make sure, of course, to have that Mississippi Live Weather app handy and ready to go just in case some of those sprinkles end up slowing down your morning commute. Not that I guess you haven't had to have it handy if they are slowing down your evening commute this evening as well, but you'll have those alerts to keep you ahead of any of the issues there. A few more thunderstorms trying to redevelop along that for locations back out toward Russellville and toward Hazel Green out there in Alabama. We still show some spotty showers and maybe even a rumble with what's depicted up here, Tippah County, Union County, back toward around Lafayette County by around noontime on your Thursday. As we go throughout your Thursday, most of us are obviously more dry than today with those spotty showers possible, but again, might be overdone somewhat behind this. What you can see here, at least I notice on this, is you can see the overall wind directions you see there kind of wrapping around some moisture. What we have going on is we have the main surface low pressure system from this all the way up there toward Buffalo, New York. But then you have an upper level trough here, right? And that upper level trough kind of wrapping in some cooler air aloft. And sometimes when that happens, you get these little showers that just because there's more cool air aloft, that kind of develop. Because this is the upper level low kind of spinning in here. Trough low pressure. These are words we haven't said a lot recently, right? Because it's been summertime, it's been ridge, it's been hot, it's been all these other things. Well, this time around, it's that cold air aloft. It'll bring the clouds. That always brings a little inconsistency on the quantity of showers. We'll still have some probably around into tomorrow afternoon to early evening. In some cases, you get small hailstones out of this. I think that is easily overblowing our potential, but let's just say that's, when you get cold air aloft, sometimes that's what happens, but it helps to get these showers to try to develop. So here's hoping that's some residual rainfall, because drop monitor is not going to be pretty again for tomorrow, though we have likely seen a little bit of improvement for a few locations. We're 81 for that high temperature in Water Valley, but no 78 in Oxford and Senatobia, 77 Holly Springs versus, say, 86 here in Macon. What's the difference? It's that cold air aloft with that cold core system, and as precipitation kind of falls, not all of it necessarily adds up to a lot of meaningful rainfall, but does cool the atmosphere down. So that's what keeps temperatures north and west just a little bit cooler in this scenario. And as we're wrapping around the cooler air behind this, obviously it's going to make it by to where Thursday night, most of the rainfall is moving out of here, and a pretty pleasant beginning of the day early Friday morning. You'll want to see that with the 7-day forecast here in just a second, looking a lot nicer. And then look at these mostly clear conditions for Friday as we go toward midday. And then afternoon, let's talk about this for a second, because our meteorologist Gabe Maynor and I were talking about this a little bit ago. That same upper level low that doesn't really necessarily show up super obvious here, somewhere kind of out in this vicinity, out there into Alabama, generally speaking, that is going to wrap back around. See how you kind of get the overall wind motion with that? Wrap back around some moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico. Some projections have this depicting a couple of sprinkles, maybe even as far west as the Mississippi-Alabama state line. So I would not say the rain chance is 0 for our Friday night football games. Pretty close to it. But If this, for whatever reason, slows down a little bit, and upper level lows sometimes do that if they dig deep enough, that could linger maybe 1 or 2 sprinkles. Again, most of us are dry. Expect our game of the week location here in Tupelo. Tupelo versus West Point, Battle of the Waves. Man, that's going to be a big game. And I'm definitely hoping that that one stays dry. And most indications here that that probably would be the case. And then, as you can see in the Friday evening, throughout that game time, keeping it mostly clear as well. So most indications are if we were to see something, it would be about game time and should be moving out after that. And even then, I'm probably overplaying my hand to say it like that. But look at these temperatures. Low 80s, mid 70s maybe for a couple spots, 77 Red Bay and Boonville, 81 degrees though. Tupelo for the high, 83 in Grenada, 84 in the Greenwood, and Belzona coming in around 84 degrees as well. So let's talk about our high school football game of the week, of course, brought to you by Langston Lott. Appreciate Casey Lott there, of course. If you're injured, look for the Golden Eights. That's one of the things they say to keep you in mind. But appreciate him for supporting us in our high school football venture here. Pre-game, we'll look at 78 degrees. Again, some patches of cloud cover out there, mainly dry. We're 73 by halftime and 72 degrees by the final snap of that game. So honestly, looking pretty nice out there. I mean, anytime this time of year, we're kind of still fairly clear, mostly dry, tolerable temperatures, not overly chilly. An ideal evening for high school football. I know Gabe Maynor over there is getting super excited. And then SEC here for the weekend. And we're looking at hopefully a pretty good forecast for that as well. Hey, so of course, Ole Miss versus LSU. We're 85 degrees for the first play of that game. Mid 80s as we go throughout. Of course, the kickoff there coming at 2:30. Those north winds, I mean, listen, you're in the stadium. It's going to be pretty warm. A lot warmer than high school football will be on Friday evening. And hopefully keeping, obviously, those conditions dry and clear. Ideal for all those plans there in the Grove. Hold on. Gabe's going to double check that one. You can take it out of play mode and we'll double check that. So, Mississippi State and Tennessee, in a lot of ways, going to be a pretty similar forecast there. Populated in. Bam.
Just blink and it never happened.
What did it do?
It was on the last weekend's date. So
there you go. Hey, but you got that fixed fast. Okay, there you go. So 86 degrees first play temperature on that one. Again, always hotter than that in the stadium. You can always take and add 10 degrees to the temperature. They've actually done some research down at Mississippi State, the meteorology program down there, climatology folks. About 10 degrees hotter in the stadium just because of the way it reflects back the heat, especially on sunny days. You know what I'm talking about there. If you're in the eastern stands, it's going to be pretty hot still. 82 by halftime and 72 by the conclusion of that game. So same case in Oxford, by the way. It's going to be pretty warm in the stadium. And then, of course, 6:30 kickoff for Alabama and Georgia. Huge game there. Limited rain chances at that system kind of exiting, probably going to be dry. We're 74 degrees first play temperature, 71 by halftime, and 68 by the final snap. Here's a look at that 7-day forecast. And again, 81 that high temperature for both tomorrow and Friday, that rain coverage tomorrow. Couple of those rumbles possible with that cold core low kicking through the area. We're 81 by Friday, 84 degrees look towards Saturday, 86 by Sunday. So I mean, look at this weekend. Now, note the low temperatures. It tells you we have the dry air when we're getting down in the 50s for lows. That drier air, we get a bigger difference there between mornings to afternoons. That's why you have that bigger gap between 59 to 86. And then, yeah, we're back probably upper 80s by next Monday. Warm things up a bit more as we look toward the extended forecast there. And then by Tuesday and Wednesday, some middle 80s also on the way in. Of course, a Mississippi Live weather app keeping you ahead of things. But if you're looking for rainfall tonight, you haven't seen it the last couple of days, haven't seen enough. Tomorrow's rain chances, Gabe, about all we have. Now, I'm going to head over there to you in the BAM for just a second here as we talk about this. What do we have coming up here after the commercial break on Mississippi Live Weather at 6?
Well, tropics continue to keep it interesting, to say the least, and we do have the latest tropical development. I'll save the name for after the break because it's definitely an interesting one. Not as interesting as Gabrielle, what can I say? Biased opinion.
Not biased at all.
But we are tracking that and even more developments beyond those two systems. So lots to talk about when it comes to those tropic systems. And we'll have that here coming up on Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
And of course, we'll also have a look at the very latest on the showers out there on Mississippi Live Weather Radar right after this.
Up here's where your biggest risks hide: leaks, mold, and expensive damage. Most commercial roofs fail slowly until they fail big. Why rip it off when you can restore it? Our silicone coatings stop leaks, prevent mold, and extend your roof life without the high replacement cost. It's a 30-year watertight roof, energy efficient, leak-free, and half the cost of replacement. And it's backed by GE's manufacturer warranties. Facility managers love this. No disruption, no tear off, and long-term protection for your property. Trust Absolute Restoration for your commercial roof.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. You know, we knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt Lawpon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt Lawpon has proven himself trustworthy.
Well, good evening to you out in Winona. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather at 6. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. Mix of cloud layers there, showers moving in from the west. Non-severe. Let's hit the headline right here. No severe weather for what we're looking at. It would take something massively changing on this to have severe weather this evening. Just does not look like that's the case. Now, I'll be honest, looking at the dew point there, 71 is not dry air per se. But there's just not a lot of the focus in the right spot here. I just don't know that we're going to get everything to line up right. I think that's a good thing. I don't think anybody there in Montgomery County are upset about that. And again, appreciate the folks at North Mississippi Storm Chasers for their camera network that we utilize on days like today. Another shot of this looking out there in Kosciuszko as the storms coming in from the west, next kind of larger city to be impacted. You can see on the lower left-hand corner of your screen, there are the showers. Again, no warnings with this, no severe weather, and luckily we're not talking about anything that would even resemble flooding rainfall. So it's kind of the good trifecta as far as that is concerned. Some cooler temperatures, some lighter to moderate rainfall, and no severe weather to go along with it. So not a lot of folks tend to complain about that combination there unless you have some kind of outdoor event of significance. But this is insignificant as far as any severe weather is concerned near the Salis community. We'll bring it here on the latest scans for a moment, and we'll track this ahead. This is just moderate rainfall. We do expect in some form or fashion it will probably hold together for a little while as it works its way toward the east. So it's kind of track the whole leading edge of that moderate rainfall there. Now, there will be some rainfall running ahead of this, and we'll track it about 32 miles per hour, and then we're going to extend this out about 75 miles there. So you'll note, again, near the west community now, we mentioned the folks there in Kosciuszko a minute ago, about 638 for you in Kosciuszko, Carmack about 637. There is some lighter rainfall that will run ahead of this. So this is not first sprinkle we're tracking. This is the more moderate rainfall. And as we kind of slide this ahead and look at cities a little farther down the road there, we show French Camp at 705, Ware at 716, Ackerman 730. There will be rain in Ackerman within the next 25 minutes or so, but the more significant rainfall runs a little bit behind that there. We're looking Louisville 737, Knox Payer 732, Starkville about 812, West Point 829. West Point where I'll end up being tomorrow as we're looking ahead toward school visit to get to talk to all the kids there, and excited about that. Our meteorologist Gabe Maynor continuing to, of course, track the tropics. Lots of interesting things. This is the peak of hurricane season, so we expect it to be active, and certainly it is remaining that way at this point, right?
Yeah, definitely something to pay attention to as we take a look out the Atlantic right now. You can see multiple disturbances that we are watching. The main one being Gabrielle, continuing to remain at hurricane strength, still about Category 2, so that is going to continue to be impactful, but fortunately only for the fish out in the Atlantic. Our next development is Umberto. That's the water vapor imagery right now, so this is definitely going to be something that we pay attention to as it continues to move in that northwest-north path. A third disturbance that we're going to track is right along the Port-au-Prince area, moving up there towards the Atlantic coast. But again, not expecting immediate impacts here in the United States, and that is the fortunate thing with this forecast. Let's start with Hurricane Gabrielle, which you can see Category 2 strength, 100 miles an hour out in the Atlantic. And our latest 4 p.m. advisory showcases 970 millibars at that pressure level, 100 mile an hour wind gusts. So this is just a system that is continuing to deplete in strength and will continue to diminish as it heads into that northeast direction over there towards the UK. We're dropping all the way to about tropical storm and tropical depression at that. I do want to say, looking at this, that is an insane path. I mean, definitely one that was long-lived, got up to Category 4 strength before moving into tropical storm strength around the UK, basically traveling the entirety of the Atlantic. But we also have our most recent development, that is Umberto in the Atlantic right now, still moving in this westerly track, but starting to trend more northwest and north. And as you can see, that 4 p.m. advisory, 1,008 millibars at that pressure level, wind gusts 40 miles miles an hour, so a little bit of a night and day difference compared to Gabrielle, but it's not out of question that this could still strengthen as it moves northwest. You can see Friday afternoon, 65 miles an hour, a very slow moving storm at that, but then starts to pick up speed, and then we'll start to generate a little bit more energy, 105 miles an hour by Sunday afternoon. So this will definitely be a storm to watch, because even increasing to 110 miles an hour Monday, I'm not going to put it past reaching major hurricane status into that extended forecast. And our last but not least tropical outlook is going to be this disturbance down along the Dominican area. That's going to be 80% chance of development over the next 7, 30% chance over the next 2. Fortunately, you can tell by this I'm going to call it a polygon, but this polygon right here, that it's going to go up the Atlantic coast. So not expecting immediate impacts here in the United States. And that's the fortunate thing with this forecast, is we are going to stay calm with all those systems being driven back out to sea. So that's a good thing with this. We'll continue to take it, but we have our own transition of seasons to watch, and that is going to be moving into that fall season as cooler air kicks in and more frontal boundaries that we expect in the near future. But Matt, we are definitely fortunate that we're not seeing any direct impacts here in Mississippi, here in the United States, because these have been some major hurricanes.
They have been, you know, and yeah, I always, when I do the school visits, explain that hurricanes do best when they're loners. When they're out there by themselves, they do best. They don't hit any friction like land. They're typically going to be stronger. So that's one of the things that, you know, we expect them to be stronger out that way. Any real concerns for folks in the Gulf out of any of these disturbances? Anything even in the long-range projections?
The long-range projections have most of it remaining out in the Atlantic. There is moisture down in the Gulf, don't get me wrong. There's always moisture in the Gulf.
Yeah.
But in regards to it being impactful or anything too strong that folks that going to the beach need to pay attention to, I would say that we're not tracking anything significant as of right now, and that's a good thing. I guess this isn't really the time of year for beach plans, but I know I'm speaking to the man that went last week.
I went last week. I personally think it's the best time of year to go to the beach because there's nobody down there and the water's still warm.
You just got lucky that you went in the peak of hurricane season and didn't have... Did you have rain? You had rain at least.
Not a drop.
Really?
Not a drop. They are in a significant drought, believe it or not. They have the part of the beach we went to down there in Florida. I talked to one of the local meteorologists, Chris Smith and Dan Nyman, actually doing something like what we're doing down up here, Mississippi Live Weather, for the Panhandle area called Panhandle Weather. They launch in 1 week. On October 1st. Anyway, glad that they haven't had hurricanes down there. But yeah, they were talking about it's been August since some spots have had rainfall at the beach.
That's insane.
Hard to believe, you know, and it's, you know, but that's just the kind of offshore pattern that we've had.
It's a lucky forecast and an unlucky forecast at the same time. We want to be dry at the beach, but at the same time, we don't want drought conditions. And that's similar to what we're getting here, how some folks want rainfall. Most folks want rainfall, and there are those some that need the dry conditions for those outdoor plans.
You know, and you reference that here, the rainfall, and if we bring it back over here to our Mississippi Live Weather radar, one of the things that we do note on this, of course, we have the rainfall, but the rainfall rates are not particularly high in the short term here. Of course, I have that track that we had on there earlier. Still watching those storms here in the Room to Room Weather Center. But as we look at the rainfall rates, again, we don't show any of those bright pinks with the exception of that one itty-bitty little speck there near the Highway 12 area and southeast of Durant, halfway between that and Kosciuszko. So it's a sign that our overall rainfall rates on these are a lot less than they were before. In fact, I make this a 12-hour loop, and you can see how we had a lot more of the pinks on there, especially you go back to the stuff we had overnight and last night. Some decent amounts of that as well. So the rainfall rates remain fairly limited. Hopefully that means the rainfall runoff remains somewhat limited as well. And then again, when we start talking about the drought conditions, new drought monitor comes out tomorrow. This is the one we have on the books for that was issued last week. All the way up here to level 3 drought for some spots out here, Oxford, Water Valley, Hernando. But we also had that big stripe of heavy rainfall last night. The drought monitor, the way in which it's processed, submitted on Tuesday, tweaked by some folks, and then released on Thursday. I don't think we're going to see a ton of improvement. It'll be next week's before the rainfall we had this week helps out some of those spots. Certainly going to see probably some expansion down here, Kosciuszko, Louisville on the drought conditions. When you look at the rainfall rate versus normal for the last 30 days, or the amount of rainfall for the last 30 days, certainly we've had that improvement up here, especially with last night's showers up along I-22 in Marshall and Benton counties. But these spots down here around the Golden Triangle, expecting to see that continue to expand. So a reminder, of course, our next live broadcast, of course, coming up later on this evening, but you can catch us between live broadcasts here in the Mississippi Live Weather app, free for Apple devices as well as Android devices. Just scan those QR codes. We know we have a lot of folks that tend to pick us up on Facebook as we're transitioning into more of our active season. Pick up the app. The alerts are definitely worth it. We send alerts when we have live broadcasts, but we also get very specific alerts for lightning, for heavy rainfall. You can toggle all those on and off within the app itself. As far as those live broadcasts go, our next one is scheduled for tonight at 10 p.m. here in the Room to Room Weather Center. Our meteorologist Gabe Maynard will be looking at the latest on some of the shower chances we have out there, and of course looking toward some drier weather ahead. He'll have that. What else you got coming up, Gabe? Some Weather Watcher pictures, hopefully?
I'm hoping, but that's up to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So send in your Weather Watcher pictures to us. We'll have that come up tonight at 10 o'clock as well. And every day, 6:37, 7:30 a.m. in the morning, Monday through Friday, our meteorologist Maggie McCauley here watching and tracking. Keep it here for the latest.
What would you give for a child you loved to make their wish come true? To help them fight a critical illness? Just imagine what you'd do. Every single one of us can make the stars align, because when we come together, hope and joy will shine.